with Fuji's, Jackson, Crimson Jack, and Sergi X, and Don Juan Quixote. Classic Marvel Star Wars comics.
All right. Well, since our last episode, we unfortunately lost a key member of the Star Wars family, Kenny Baker. So we just did a big tribute to Kenny on episode 133 of Skywalking Through Neverland. But Randy, you have a Kenny Baker story for us.
Yeah, I do. You know, I was really sad, just like everybody else, to hear that Kenny had passed away, and because you know there's R2D2 and everything. But I actually got a chance to meet him when I was out in England one time when I was doing a convention out there, and got to know him pretty well. Actually got to eat dinner at his house, which is probably something not many people can claim that they've done that are fans.
Wow.
So, and when I was there, I would classify myself as a fan, you know, at Kenny Baker's house. So,
When was this?
I want to say it was around 2004.
Okay.
And I was out in Manchester for a comic book convention. It was my first convention out there in England. And I went out there with a friend who was also an artist, and they were good friends with Kevin Baker, who is Kenny's son.
Oh.
And so Kevin spent some time out there, and Kenny actually was working at the same convention out in Manchester. So we first had dinner with him one night, which was cool, and then went out with Kevin, his son, a couple other nights to have some drinks, and we were going to make our way to London. But before we went to London, Kevin actually invited us to go have dinner at his father's house, Kenny Baker's house. So that's how that all got started.
So how many stories did you get out of him? Out of Kenny?
Actually, about Star Wars?
Yeah.
None, actually. And that's what made the whole thing great. You know, one of the things that a lot of people always think, of course, if you're a fan, you got your questions and everything like that. But if you really want to make a actor or one of these characters, or I should say actors from Star Wars, happy, is don't talk to them about Star Wars. Talk to them about anything else but Star Wars, and they'll love you forever. Because all they're doing is talking about Star Wars all day at these conventions. So, and I'm kind of like that anyways. I don't really want to ask them questions about Star Wars. I want to ask them about them and what makes them happy. And that's kind of the artist's point of view for me. I want to see what turns them on. So when it came to Kenny Baker, we spent a lot of time talking about his vaudeville days, talking about music, talking about history, talking about basically anything except for Star Wars, and which was a really good call for me because we really got on very well right from the beginning.
That's a very good plan, and I totally agree with that. And I've used that tactic too, but it always turns around to Star Wars.
Well, because it's you talking, Richard.
Well, you know, if you throw in hey, so you were just mentioning Star Wars, and can you continue with that? And I'll think, well, I was? Oh, okay, well, started back in 1976 when...
Yeah, imagine he's been talking about it since then. So, and the good thing was that the person that I went with was a woman, and she was very interested in his son. So I actually had I had total focus from Kenny Baker between he and I, because she could really care less what was going on with him.
Wow.
So now I've got to ask, you're like 7 feet tall, and
Kenny, not to him,
Kenny's like 3'5". When it was time for dinner, did you have to bring your own chair?
Well, that was what was funny. When we get there, I mean, it's a house for a little person, you know. It really is, and I'm 6'4", and I'm not abnormally large, but I'm bigger than most.
Right.
But getting there, it really was. I did feel kind of like Peter Mayhew must have a lot of times, but yeah, everything was smaller. You know, it was a small couch, small chairs. So everywhere that I was sitting, literally, my knees were about at my chest because I was sitting. You know. But it was cool, you know. It's like I'm sitting there talking and drinking with Kenny Baker. We must have gone through about probably 3 bottles of wine.
Wow.
So you were the BFR, the big friendly Randy.
Exactly. So he went on and on and on talking about vaudeville and again, of course, different things. But he, you know, the thing that I was left the impression was that he loved his vaudeville days, and he just loves vaudeville in general. And he actually performed a little bit, you know, and with his I don't think it was his wife. I don't think they ever got married, but his partner at the time, just like, oh, geez, rolling her eyes and stuff like that, you know.
On our Kenny Baker tribute on our last episode of Skywalking Through Neverland, it was revealed that Kenny Baker was once part of a magic show where he was inside of a robot. Did he happen to mention anything to that effect?
Now that you're bringing it up, I do remember that. I mean, we spent a long time there, a good 5 or 6 hours before we had to go to the train station.
Wow.
And we talked about that. I remember a robot being involved in the conversation, him singing, also dressing up as, you know, the second half of a horse or something like that, from what I remember, you know. I mean, it's vaudeville. They do that stuff, you know.
Well, of course, you have to be the front half or the back half of a horse if you're going to do anything on vaudeville.
Oh, and then, you know what else? Time Bandits.
Oh, yeah, he was Fidget.
Yeah, he loved talking about Time Bandits.
Yeah.
And I didn't even bring it up, and he brought it up. And he loved the experience and all the other little people, the actors, you know, and he said it was a great experience. And this, like I said, over 2 or 3 bottles of wine. I mean, we were pretty sauced up. And he got funnier and funnier and funnier, you know, the more he got good drunk. You know, some people, you know what I'm talking about. Some people get bad drunk.
Yeah, some people are the angry drunk. Some people are the funny drunks.
Yep.
Yeah, and luckily when I get buzzed, I get silly drunk as well. So we must have been a pair in front of everybody.
So you know what? Let's leave that on a high fun note.
Yeah.
When talking about Kenny Baker.
Oh, that's only half the story.
Oh.
Do you want to hear the rest?
Sure, we have time.
Yeah.
It's not that much longer. So it's time to go to the train station, and so nobody thought ahead of time that maybe we should get a bigger car to drive us there. So they said, it's okay, we got 2 cars. And so, you know, my travel partner and Kevin got in the one car, and there's no more room for me. So I'm like, you know what? I think I'll just go with Kenny. And by the way, I made a point of saying we just finished off like 2 or 3 bottles of wine.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
So that was one of the most scariest nights of my life.
So was Kenny driving?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Kenny was driving and going well at least 80 miles an hour. And now through this part of England, I had no idea where I was. But this part of England, there was very narrow roads, lots of narrow, overpasses the bridge, old stone bridges with very narrow, what do I want to say that is?
Margins? Or
arches. Yeah,
arches.
Very narrow. And he wasn't even looking at the road half the time. He's looking at me, continuing to tell me about vaudeville. Said, let me tell you back when I was in the vaudeville and I was going across the country and I loved it so much.
So I'm getting this image of Randy clutching the dashboard, and all you see of Kenny is knuckles on the steering wheel.
I was, and I was so scared, but at the same time, I was like, "This is going to be a great story."
Oh, you know what? That has got to be a comic panel at some point. You've got to draw that.
It does. It does, and it just it's a great memory in general, and all my experiences of Star Wars experiences. But with Kenny, I mean, I'm just happy that I was able to live. Number one, but number two, that I got to have such a great time with him and got on really well. And it wasn't just like, oh, here's Randy, like, oh, nice to meet you. It's like we really, broke bread and had wine and craziness. So it was really good.
That's awesome. You know, how did he drive? Like, did he have
drunk?
Actually, pretty well.
Well, but like,
some people learn how to drive while they're drunk.
See, let me explain the English people to you, Sarah.
But he's so short. Like, does he have the stuff strapped to his feet or something?
Like big blocks?
Oh, okay, that's a good question.
Special
actually,
share?
Yeah, the pedals were really long.
Okay.
And they go up to where would really be where my lap is.
Right.
If I was sitting in a car, and the car is pushed all the way, the seat all the way to the front with a little chair on top of that, and then the steering wheel seemed extra kind of thin. So that he can put his fingers around it and get a good grip and stuff. So,
funny.
Yeah, I took mental notes of all that stuff. And I mean, I thought it was cool. I never even knew they had that type of what do you call it?
Accommodation, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I can't think of the word. That's fine, accommodations. But but it was a very interesting day, and it was a lot of fun. and it's something I'll never forget. So,
Well, you know what? That is a good memory, considering today is Kenny Baker's 82nd birthday,
oh, is it? Oh, I didn't realize that.
August 24th. So that was a good memory and a good story. Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing that.
Thank you. Well, you're welcome. I'm always happy to share my fun stories like that.